Priebus says his greetings. I was able to see him Wednesday night. I was in DC Wednesday and Thursday doing a little business, which I'll share in a minute with, but also met with him to talk about what's going on at the RNC. We've got a great committee right now. We've got 168 folks that are committed to raising the money, putting the team together, doing the training, and helping the folks to be successful in our next election. I think we learned a lot from last time, and one of the things that Chairman Priebus has talked about is to be able to do outreach to the states. He wants this to be a team effort. We can't win alone from the RNC, and we have to work together as a team. As you know, Chairman Shostak, our great party chairman, Linda's here too, and some of our party officers. He's putting together a lot of training centers across the state, and the RNC is committed to paying for over 7 of them. And of course, we got our vice chairman here, Sharon Wise, too. And they are committed to work alongside the RNC to have, I think, Sharon, 14 or 15 centers around the state where we're going to start the phone calling, do the data entry, going door to door, and doing all the training that needs to be done in order to be successful and win. So I'm looking forward to working with all of them on that. They're all committed to that. And I can tell you that we got a great team both nationally and here in the state of Michigan. Now, the other reason I was in D.C. was to meet with the Republican congressional delegation. Chairman Shostak always has a state fundraiser there where we try to raise as much money as possible here in Michigan. We even go to D.C. to do that. And so all the folks that are kind of transplants in D.C. but have Michigan ties are there and do a fundraiser at the Capitol Hill Club right next to the RNC building. And we're able to talk to them there because I've made a decision, and I had it to the press a couple of weeks ago, that I'm going to be a candidate for the U.S. Senate. I'm filing on Monday. You know, we have a wonderful Republican delegation, congressional delegation here in Michigan. Candace Miller, a former Secretary of State, along with Bruce Johnson. You got 3 of us, and also, of course, Mike Rogers and Fred Upton and Dave Camp, your congressman. But all of them have said they're not going to run for Senate. So I said, we need somebody who can win. We need somebody who's run statewide, somebody who can bring a good skill set and conservative, libertarian freedom issues to the Senate, and somebody who can help get things done. And I think that's definitely been my background, is bringing things together and working with different groups in order to be successful in getting things done. So you'll hear more about it. I file on Monday, as I said. We want to make sure we do things right. I can't ask for money or raise money until it's actually done with the FEC. They're a little tougher than us, Ruth, here in Michigan on those rules. You don't want to mess with the FEC. So we're going to do that on Monday. The emails and newsletter will be coming out. It's terrylandland.com. Please sign on board, and we'll keep you posted. And I look forward to working with all of you over the next year and a half. And are you ready to win a U.S. Senate seat? Yeah. Let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry, and I just want to remind you, in case you forgot about it, Terry, we do have the headquarters here.
All right.
And we staff it, and we'll be there for you. The only thing I want you to promise, you'll get your signs here early, okay? We got to have signs. That's the thing we have to have.
We're making them now.
Okay. Our Secretary of State, Ruth Johnson, I have to tell you what, she has been busy every day. And the one thing I can say about her is she is next door. You know, every place she goes, she's next door. She's in the malls. She's every place I go, there's a place now. We don't have to drive miles to get anything. People don't have to go out of their neighborhoods because, you know what? She's next door, and she's going to be on the computers too, I bet you. So I'd like to welcome Ruth.
Thank you, Linda. You do a great job. It really is an honor to be here because I don't know if you know the statistics or not. Democracy, you must participate, right, to make it work. Less than 1% of the people do what you do. So whenever you do anything, you're not only representing yourself, but so many other people because you actually take the time. And I know you don't do it for yourself. You do it for your kids, your grandkids, and generations later. And I can't thank you enough for how you sacrifice and what you do for the others in this state and this country. I want to tell you that we have made a lot of cuts. We have 25% less staff than what we had 10 years ago. And I don't know if you've suffered as much through this recession as some of the parts of the state. But in Oakland County, Wayne County, Macomb County, our housing values went to half. It was a great deal of unemployment. We've had a very tough time. And I know when I go home, I talk too much about it because my daughter, who just turned 14, I haven't seen for 3 days because I've been on the 3-day tour. I talked about it so much at the table, people losing their homes, what's happening around, how people are struggling. And so when she was 9 years old, 9 and a half, we were at a mall that's in Auburn Hills in the middle of Oakland County, and we were walking through the mall, and she actually held my hand in public back then. And she pointed out at a store and she said, "Look, Mom, the economy's gotten way better, lots better, look at that." And I looked over at Victoria's Secret and I said, "Why do you say that?" She says, "Because the people have bought the clothes right off the mannequins' backs." Well, I'm happy to say a lot of things have changed for the better. And I just did a presentation to a European country that's thinking about locating here and got some wonderful statistics. And I want you to know about them because Michigan's making a comeback like you've never seen. And when you look at some of the people here in this room that are representing Michigan, you need to tell them thank you because it's the people here from Bryan Kelly, Representative Johnson, and Senator Molinar, who I had the opportunity and the privilege to serve with. Here's the things with the governor that they have done. Our gross domestic product went from dead last, not a good place to be, dead last in the nation, to the 6th best right now. Isn't that great? Thank you. Our population is growing for the first time since 2004. Last year marked the 2nd year of job expansion after 10 years of decline. Our state motor vehicle production has increased since 2011, over 20%. Our income growth went from 42nd to 15th best in the nation. Isn't that great news? And one other statistic that's great is we've been named #1 in the nation in terms of job creation potential. Because people didn't come to Michigan to lay in the sun, we came to work. And that's what we do. So we need to remember that we are a state of innovators, fighters, and workers, and we continue to do just that. Some of the challenges we came in with is in 2008, Michigan had 102.54% of the eligible electorate registered to vote. And we have recently found out from the Auditor General that we had people vote that 1,300 that were deceased or in prison. One even actually came to the polls, they said. The Department of Justice found that we had 20 states that more people voted than lived there. So cleaning up the qualified voter file has for many years been #1 on the list, but the federal government has not given us the tools that we need to do that. But we've gone ahead and done some things, and we're continuing to push the federal government for help. One is we signed a subscription with Social Security Administration, and we found 50,000 dead people. We're working on getting those off. More than half are. We're working on the rest. Some of the other things that happened is we, unfortunately, for 5 straight years, we had about 70,000 people leave the state. I'm happy to tell you they're coming back. Our kids, our grandkids, and all kinds of family members are coming back because there's opportunity now. But because of that, the latest statistics show in the preliminary report that we have 300,000 people registered to vote in Michigan and another state. And guess what? Some of them have been voting. You'll be hearing about this in the next couple weeks because I'm working with Bill Schuette. We are going after those people. One citizen, one vote. Now here's where the 10th Amendment gets kind of messed up. The federal government said for 34 years that every state you must ask anyone that comes in for a driver's license if they want to register to vote. Probably with some good intentions. However, that meant non-citizens. We have thousands of non-citizens on our registry, and when they vote, they commit a felony. And when that happens, they get deported. It's not very fun when you're pushing and working so hard to become a U.S. citizen, and we issued you a registration card and you vote. and then you voted. And we have a man in Indonesia, from Indonesia, that was here 5 years, did everything right. And on his last meeting, they asked him, have you voted? And he was very proud to say, yes, he had. Because in Indonesia, you must. They said, you're being deported. We recently, last month, had a woman in Berrien County with 2 children, and they said, why did you vote? You're not a citizen. And she said, I'm not sure. She got 10 days in jail, and she'll never be a citizen. And I can go on with some other ones. There was one in Livingston County that voted, and he said, hey, I pay taxes, I should be able to vote. You're not a citizen, you can't vote, and that's it. So we're making now separate licenses for people that are here legally, becoming U.S. citizens. They now will have limited term licenses. It's marked on the license and the date that their visa runs out. So we're sure if you register, you will be a citizen. We've had a lot of cuts. Be nice to your Secretary of State people that in your branch offices. I get a lot of good compliments. But we've had to cut 25% from where we were 10 years ago, and they've had to carry that load, and they've done a fabulous job. One of the things we had to do at our office is we had to kind of combine with Treasury for a while for space to try to save money. Anything we can do to save money, we're trying to do. And I have a little photocopy machine in my office, and every time I went to use it, it was clogged, jammed, or out of ink, or out of paper, because they were using it. So I asked my secretary, please put a note on there so they don't do that. Well, I go to work the next day, and when I walk in, everybody's snickering at me, and I can't figure out why. You know, you check the toilet paper on your heel. No, what is it? And here's what she wrote. Please don't touch the secretary's reproductive equipment. I get how to do it. So, we're trying to share, but there is a point. In September, I was chosen as one of the 5 Secretaries of States in this nation to go to the Middle East. What a pleasure and honor to meet the men and women. And I'd ask right now, if you have served this country, would you please stand up for a moment? If you served this country, please stand up. Thank you. I cannot thank you enough. I know what you gave up. And they're in harm's way at any moment, in every moment. And when I went to the Middle East, I went to 3 countries, 5 installations, and 3 ships. And I can tell you, you should be very proud of the men and women that are over there risking their lives. And quality of life is not what it is here, I've got to tell you. And I talked to one young man, and I said, and I was whining a little bit. It was 130, and I had my special little shirt on that breathed, and my special tennis shoes that were mesh. And I said, oh, how do you do this? He's got on full everything, long sleeves, heavy duty cotton, long pants, hat, boots. And he said, ma'am, I'm military ready, ma'am, at any moment, ma'am. And I thought, boy, I will never forget that. What they've given and what they do for this country is just absolutely incredible. So we're trying to give back. We call it Operation Our Troops Count. It's both for active military and as well as those of you that serve so bravely to protect our liberty, our justice, and our way of life. We're going to start next year. If you have served and got an honorable discharge, we're going to put on your driver's license just that you served in the military, that you got an honorable discharge, and you deserve the benefits that you've earned, whether they're educational benefits, loan benefits, medical benefits, and as my sister says, great, I don't have to carry my DD-214s to Joanne Fabrics anymore. And we worked with our great legislature and our governor and lieutenant governor, and we were able to get a law passed that says, and if you can see the Middle East, how they drive, oh my word, makes New York look like kindergarten on the road. If you can drive a big truck there, when you come back, you shouldn't have to take that test. You need to get back right into civilian life. You want to support your family, so they can go right ahead now and get their commercial driver's license so they can get a good job. We're using our branch offices in combination with the governor. We're going to make sure that our veterans know what's available to them. We have 687,000 veterans, and I'm so proud to say that. 11th highest in the nation, but one of the worst in getting the word out. We will get the word out. We'll make sure our veterans know what they earned and deserve so that they can take advantage of that. Now, ExpressSOS.com. You can go online and do almost everything now. We should see you once every 8 years. And I don't have much money. We're really running on the skinny here. So I love the water. I mean, Michigan, when Minnesota, their plates say one of 10,000 lakes. Big deal. We got 11 in the Great Lakes. So I kayaked from Mackinac Island to the mainland May 30th with a big sail on my kayak that says ExpressSOS.com. Write that down. ExpressSOS.com. You don't have to stand in line. You don't have to drive. You can get everything. But every 8 years, we want a new mug shot and eye test. So come on in. But we've done 24/7, and we did actually over 1,000 on Christmas Day transactions. So you can do it anytime. Your tabs, you can go right up midnight on your birthday. Go ahead, do it online, carry the receipt, and you're good. There's 2 initiatives I'm working on, and some people go, give me just 2 minutes to explain each one. One is you should be able to register online using your driver's license. And I'll tell you why. When I was a county clerk in Oakland County, 3,000 people were registered in one of our cities. You think, isn't that great? People are registering. But we looked at those, less than 50. Good. Less than 50 out of 3,000. We will check them when they go online. We'll make sure they're good. It will have so much more security. The other one, no reason absentee. We have many reasons why you can vote. Over 60 if you're disabled, if you're in the service, if you're in jail waiting arraignment. We have a whole plethora of things. And then the checkbox, I expect to be out of town. Well, in one of my communities, 84% of the people expected to be out of town or fit one of those other ones. So people are doing it for convenience, but there's no integrity, no security. We don't know. We're saying in this legislation that we're pushing, or bill that we're pushing to be legislation, if you show your ID, that is the gold standard. That will take care of any kind of potential cheating. Show your ID up to 45 days, and you can vote. No reason absentee. Go watch your grandkids at whatever play they're on or whatever you have going on. You don't have to check the box, I expect to be out of town. And there's no I expect to be out of town police, by the way. So we know we can cut down on the potential for fraud by allowing no reason absentee with ID. I'd like you to be able to go buy bread, milk, a fishing pole, and get your tabs too. So we have 2 pilots that we're doing that right now with Meyer in the south and west side of the state. If it works, we plan on making it in many places of the state. And last and not least is one of my passions, organ donation. We were the 6th worst in the nation. 3,100 people are on that list, and I've met people that have had donor families, which my heart goes out to them. Although I have to tell you, they feel a little bit of solace knowing that their loved one lives on in others. I've met people that have gotten the recipient of organs, and I've met the people from Gift of Life and the Michigan Eye Bank who worked so hard. So we went about trying to change the paradigm. We ask in the offices, we put it on all our commonly used forms. We make sure you know you have the opportunity to do this. And with that, in the last 2 years, Michigan has had more people sign up ever in the history in this state. Over 1 million people. It's the gift of hope that turns into the gift of life. Now, one person can save the lives of 8 people, and they can enhance the quality of 50 more. And some people think, well, I shouldn't do that. I went to my mom, who's 86 and lives with us, and I said, Mom, would you sign up to be on the organ donation registry? She said, there isn't anything I got anybody want. Our oldest donors were 101 and 103, so it's never too late. I just want to take one moment again to thank you. I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for you and others like you. You've given me a great opportunity. I have lots more ideas, and I'd like to introduce my staff real quick because they're the ones that do all the hard work. Linda Lee, Renee, Brandy Nash.
Last year of the hospitality, Darlene's house, at the barbecue. So thank you so much for your invitation to come back. In fact, I'm always flattered when I get an invitation like this. I'm especially flattered when I get an invitation to come back. I haven't done that before. So No, there's so much that has happened. By the way, if you see me wince a little bit or lean against this, I do actually happen to have some kidney stones right now. And the doctor said it'll eventually come out okay. But it hasn't yet. Okay, it hasn't yet. So we'll just work our way through that. But as we go through the record of the last couple of years and compare it to what we had been through for the 10 years before that, or even in some cases it makes sense to think back a few generations. The simplest things, when John Molinar and I were serving together in the House of Representatives, the simplest things like passing a budget seemed impossible for those who were in charge at the time. We had to camp out 21 days in a row. They did these lock-in covers, call of the House, where everybody had to stay in the chamber until it was settled. But really, it was just arguments at the leadership level, and those of us in the House of Representatives had to wait for them to give us something to vote on. I remember thinking in 2007, as I had taken off my tie, it was before Rick Snyder, so I wore ties back then. And so I took off my tie and I laid down underneath my desk. And it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, because that was when the Detroit news photographer went home. And he used to like to take pictures of people sleeping and put them on the Detroit website with drool coming down and everything. So I always waited until he was gone before I lay down. And so I took off my tie and I put it over my eyes as I was going to go to sleep on the floor under my desk. And I thought this job of being a representative would be much more glamorous than this. But what that instilled in me at that time was a determination. Never again. That the people of our state deserve leaders who are willing to make decisions, to take bold stands, and solve problems, no matter how many political inconveniences those solutions come with. And so when this magical thing happened in 2010, where you had a House of Representatives full of people like Joel Johnson, and a Senate full of people like John Molinar, and a governor completely unafraid to go through and say, we need to get the fiscal footing under this state. Crisis management, we need to put crisis behind us and live within the reality that's in front of us. And so we had to balance the budget. We had to reform our tax code. When he ran for office, he said, we will erase this $1.5 to $2 billion budget deficit that's been with us for about a decade. And that's exactly what happened. That we've repealed the Michigan business tax and put a simple, fair, and efficient, very competitive tax system in place, and that's what happened. We went from second worst tax climate in the nation to seventh best, according to the Tax Foundation. So one of the areas that didn't receive as much attention, because it's not glamorous, but just rule by rule, regulation by regulation, we've gone through systematically. And folks, we're just getting started. But as I stand before you today, we have over 1,000 less rules and regulations than we did 2.5 years ago when this group started. And we are just getting started. And so as we, I think back when you'd heard I was a community banker before, and I made business loans for most of my time in the banking industry. And my attitude on regulation really came from the experiences of that time. And I want to share with you a story, and it's about what I consider to be our most improved department now. But it was the one that used to be with the most problems. It was the DBQ. And so I had this customer, and he was a real estate developer, and I financed some of his projects. So he had a site condominium project in Hazlet. Now Hazlet, a little subdivision area right outside of Lansing. And so he was doing phase 3 of a site condominium project, and phase 1, 2 had sold out. On phase 3, there was a little wet spot, a swampy area in the back. What he had intended to do was to sculpt this into a pond that was to be the premier lot of the whole division. And being the honest guy he was, he called into DEQ for a wetlands permit. And the fellow from the department came out and he was looking around the edge quite intently, and my customer came up and introduced himself and he said, "Can I help you?" He said, "Yeah, I'm here to do the inspection. I think I just saw a turtle." So they looked around a lot. They never found the turtle. But he said, "Here's the problem. The turtle I think I saw is a threatened species of turtle. And so you're going to have to make a turtle sanctuary here." Now, I will fully admit that any turtle living in Hazlet is indeed threatened. I admit this. But they had to build a turtle sanctuary, which took this, what was going to be the premier lot, out and added weeks onto the selling, or took weeks off the selling season to get the project done, which was a big deal here in Michigan. But here's the ironic part of it. The specifications of the turtle condo, as they put it on the plot, the official plot, was that they had to dig it out to certain specifications and build a berm around it and then fence it, and close it in with a fence. Now, surely if the turtle ever existed, it's a big if the turtle ever existed, surely it was killed when the backhoes and the bulldozers created the turtle sanctuary. Now let's say that this turtle was a special turtle, very agile, a ninja turtle, if you will. And somehow it survived the bulldozers and the backhoes. What are we left with? A threatened species of turtle living in an fenced, enclosed pond in the middle of Hazlet that will never, ever mate again. Now, aside from the obvious quality of life issues this poses for the turtle, what did our environmental policy do? At the very best, it's preventing threatened species of turtle from reproducing. At the worst, it was killing them. Now, this is a very well-intentioned law that's been in place for a long time. And so as we go through and change the whole operating environment in our state, it's not targeted like it was before and saying, well, we like this industry and not that industry, and we want to make this the Hollywood of the Midwest or whatever. It's an attitude that says no matter what you want to do, no matter whether you're high tech or low tech, whether you got a new innovation, you got a business been in place for a long time, and you're just going to start one up. No matter what you want to do, where your hopes and dreams and aspirations came from and are going to take you, we want this to be the very best place for you to do it. And that's what we're trying to do every day, is make that climate better for job growth. And entrepreneurs have really responded. Now, you heard Ruth Johnson, our outstanding Secretary of State, which is part of we have a legacy now of outstanding Secretary of States here in Michigan. Started with Candace Miller, Terry Lynn, and now with Ruth. What an outstanding job. We would be lucky to have Terry Lynn Mann as our United States Senator. In fact, if that happens, then we will definitely hold the prize for most improved senator in the nation. This says not if, when. I always have to hold back because the filing deadline and other Republicans could technically file, but I really, really love Terry Lynn Mann. Yeah. That's right. I love Terry Lynn Mann. I think that would be outstanding if she's our nominee for United States Senator. And so let's talk about what's happened then. So we changed the climate. We're not trying to direct where the economy is supposed to go. We're going to trust in our people that they know what to do if we have the right environment for success. And here's what's happening right now. So we've seen our unemployment that topped out at 14.2% drop down to 8.4%. Still too high, but among the largest drops in unemployment of any state in our nation. We see our GDP rates and our personal income growth rates tops in the nation, again after successive years of decline. In fact, with personal income, we went from being a rich state to being a poor state in 10 years. That's all it took. It's so much faster to break something down than to build it back up. And we're in that process now of building it back up. So we've seen successive years in a row of GDP growth. We've seen successive years in a row of personal income growth. We've seen finally the foreclosure rates in our state start to come down and home sales up. We had 10% more home sales last year than this year before, and the prices were 5% higher than the year before. But of all these different things, the best statistics are the ones that are directly about the economic activity here in our state and what it means for our population. The private sector in our state has generated, since the beginning of 2011, has generated 182,000 jobs. The private sector has generated 182,000 jobs. People like to talk about, it's all automotive or it's all this. Every single sector except for the government, every single sector of our economy has added jobs since the beginning of 2011. There are no exceptions to that except for the government. And so this is an outstanding result for the people of the state of Michigan. And what this has done is it's given us an opportunity. Now, if we look back at the past, it can show us where the real danger signs are. If we look at the last several times that our state had hit a valley, an economic downturn, and spent time at the bottom, that once we start climbing out of it, that's when people start to really get complacent, and the temptation to go back to the way it was before gets intense. And so now here we are, 3 years in a row. This is our third year of having a structurally balanced budget by June. Now, the last time that happened, I was 5 years old. Right, so Linda likes to say, well, that's not that long ago. But being 36, we know that was decades ago, the last time that happened. And so now we have 3 years in a row, and the beauty of that is that it's an expectation today. And it should be an expectation that these decisions are made in a timely fashion, but more important than the efficiency of our process today is the quality of the product. And the quality is that it is structurally balanced with no smoke and mirrors, no accounting gimmicks like we had seen in the previous years. That as I stand before you today, we have over $20 billion less debt as a state than we did when we first started. It is possible to reduce debt. We went from having a rainy day fund that would have run our state government for 32 minutes in January of 2011. Today we have $580 million in that rainy day fund. And on top of a balanced budget, on top of paying down the debt, and that's all about the next generation. It takes discipline. Today there's all kinds of calls, all kinds of pressure to say, spend that rainy day fund down to nothing. Folks, at the time when you're growing is when you need to set it aside for when things get hard. At the times when you're growing, you have to resist the increase in spending so you can pay down the debt that you took on in the past. That this is the time, now is the time that we put our state in the best possible financial condition so that we hand over the keys to state government, to our kids and to our grandkids. They're going to have a state that isn't saddled with the legacy costs of the past, a state that has as much opportunity and prosperity as possible, because that's where we stand today now as a nation, is the first generation ever, going all the way back from the experiment of America, back 234 years ago. This experiment that started that long ago, every single generation has given the next generation a higher standard of living and a better quality of life and more prosperity than the one before. There are no exceptions to that rule, but today we stand at the verge of breaking that promise. It's never happened before, folks, and this is how large the stakes are. That's why it's so critically important that we be the example, finally the good example here in Michigan, for the rest of the nation, for our government of the United States, that you can balance budgets. there's a lot of gnashing of teeth, and there's a lot of folks that like to complain when you used to give out money and then you don't give out as much. Oh, some people take that personally. But it doesn't change the math. It doesn't change the obligation that we have. And my kids are still really young. They're 3, 6, and 9. I think about every day what type of Michigan that they're going to have. And that's really the driving force behind all of us that are involved in this political system. And so I want to say thank you for your part. Thank you for being a part of it. When it's frustrating and the results aren't exactly what you wanted, thank you for not quitting and instead working harder. Because when things are hard, that's what we do. We work harder. Times get tough, we get tougher. And history has shown that that is the right attitude. That's Michigan. That's where we come from. That's our heritage. That's what we're all about. I couldn't be prouder of the team that we have assembled today that has taken on these tough issues, has taken on issues and problems that have been around for generations, put them behind us. And now that we're out of crisis management, we need discipline. Discipline on the way that we spend money in the state. We need discipline on the rules creep that happens and the regulatory creep that happens over the years. We need discipline on tax policy to keep it as simple and clean as we have made it now. And this will be a lasting legacy, not of the people who are in office today, but of what the people of the state of Michigan can do when given a fair environment to go out there and take chances in. You're all a part of that. I want to say especially thank you to Joel Johnson and John Molinar for their parts in this. You know, I served in the state House of Representatives, and I almost served in the Senate until I got the call from Rick Snyder that when you serve in a district like that, and you know everybody, and people are all over the board with their opinions on different issues, and when you're dealing with issues as hard as we are today, that they catch an earful on these things, and it's like, I could not think of two more conscientious people that take to heart every communication that comes into them to really consider what is the best thing for my community. And that's a hallmark of good representation. You have chosen good leaders to represent you in Lansing. I want to congratulate you on that. And as somebody who works with those leaders, I want to thank you for sending such high quality people and for the invitation to be here. Thank you so much.